Apple was a very classic Silicon Valley startup in the sense that Steve Wozniak and my partner both worked for Hewlett-Packard. Matter of fact, Woz was still working there when we started Apple. And Hewlett-Packard was the genesis of not just the concept of starting your own company, but, and of course it was the primary role model in the Valley, but it was also the ethics or the ethical basis of how you wanted to build your company. A company that was based on values, not based on just making money. And HP had the HP way, and they had a list of their values. And the first one was, we need to make a profit or else we can't keep this company going. But after that, they got into how they wanted to treat individuals and conduct their corporate life. And it's very idealistic in my opinion. So we were very much influenced by that. The second thing that made us very, very typical in a way was that we were building a product that we ourselves were the customer for. We were building something we wanted ourselves, just like Hewlett and Packard started building test equipment and equipment for engineers. Well, they were engineers, so they could, in essence, do the marketing. They could figure out what an engineer might want in a product as well as design it. We wanted a computer, and we knew exactly what we wanted in a computer, so we could do the marketing as well as the engineering of that product. This changed later as we started selling to people that were different than us, but certainly in the first several years of Apple, we were selling to people that were just like us. And a lot of Silicon Valley companies have started that way. It's very efficient. I think it works quite well. We've also had a lot of requests from companies to port NextStep to other platforms, and we're talking to some of those companies right now. Now, Sun, we got a lot of requests from Sun customers to port NextStep to Sun. So a lot of them are saying, look, we may not want to buy them anymore, but we already bought 500 and we don't want to throw them in the bay. So can we put your software on them? Because Sun's falling behind in software. Now, Sun says they'd rather stick needles in their eyes than help us do this. That's a quote. And so we're evaluating right now which will be worse for Sun, if we port it or if we don't port it. And since we're fairly customer driven, we'll probably end up doing what the customers ask us to do, because we want to make them happy. It seems like all the good people I really want to hire, it seems to take me a year to hire them. And it's always been that way, even at Apple. Some of the best technical people or whoever, it always seemed to take me like a year to pry them out of HP or wherever. And it took me over a year to hire. I think Mike has the award. You're about a year and a half. And they're all worth it. What happens is I usually meet somebody that is really good, I think is very, very good, and you can't get them, and then you go try to find other people, and nobody measures up. You know, when you meet somebody that good, you always compare them to this one person, and you know you're going to be settling for second best if you compromise. And I've always found it best not to compromise, and came up with this software called NextStep, which lets you build apps 5 to 10 times faster than anything anyone's ever seen. And after you build them, they're deployable and usable by mere mortals, because it's really easy to use, this computer. And you can interoperate your custom apps seamlessly with a bunch of off-the-shelf productivity apps. So we go to these companies that use Suns and take 2 years to write their apps, or are thinking about using Suns, and they can write their apps in about 90 days on the Next. Now, if you're on Wall Street and you can create a new product in 90 days versus your competitor in 2 years, that's 8 new products you can field for their every one. And you can start to see the competitive advantage that can be created this way. Now, we had no idea that we were any good at this when we started Next. A lot of times you don't know what your competitive advantage is when you launch a new product. When we did the Macintosh, we never anticipated desktop publishing when we created the Mac. Sounds funny, because that turned out to be the Mac's compelling advantage, right? The thing that it did, not 1.5 or 2 times better than everything else, but 4 or 5 times better than anything else, where you had to have one. We never anticipated it. We anticipated bitmap displays and laser printers, but we never thought about PageMaker or that whole industry really coming down to the desktop. Maybe we weren't smart enough. But we were smart enough to see it start to happen 9 to 12 months later. And we changed our entire marketing and business strategy to focus on desktop publishing, and it became the Trojan horse that eventually got the Mac into corporate America, where it could show its owners all the other wonderful things it could do. Likewise, when we created Next Step, this revolutionary object-oriented software that we have, our target customer coming from the PC world, where shrink-wrap apps were king, was Lotus and Adobe and WordPerfect and all the shrink-wrap apps developers. And the purpose was to let them create their apps 5 to 10 times faster, these shrink-wrapped apps. And it worked. We have a ton of shrink-wrapped apps now, best of breed in almost every category. But it wasn't until early in '91, early last year, a little over a year ago, that some really big companies came to us and said, you don't understand what you've got. The same software that allows Lotus to create their apps 5 to 10 times faster is letting us build our in-house mission-critical apps 5 to 10 times faster. And this is the biggest problem we've had. This is a huge problem for every big company and almost all medium-sized companies, and you have the solution in your hands and you dummies don't even know it. And it took them about 3 months before we finally heard it. And in last summer, we changed our whole sales and marketing strategy around to focus on that, and it's taken off like a rocket. And we grew about 4x last year and probably grow about 2x this year. And our customer list is now very, very strong and growing like crazy. We just got back from spending a few days in DC and in New York, and we're talking to customers we only dreamed of talking to a year ago. The group of people that do not use quality in their marketing are the Japanese. You never see them using quality in their marketing. It's only the American companies that do. And yet, if you ask people on the street which products have the best reputation for quality, they will tell you the Japanese products. Now, why is that? How could that be? The answer is because customers don't form their opinions on quality from marketing. They don't form their opinions on quality from who won the Deming Award or who won the Baldrige Award. They form their opinions on quality from their own experience with the products or the services. And so one can spend enormous amounts of money on quality. One can win every quality award there is, and yet if your products don't live up to it, customers will not keep that opinion for long in their minds. And so I think where we have to start is with our products and our services, not with our marketing department. And we need to get back to the basics and go improve our products and services. Now again, quality isn't just the product or the service, it's having the right product. You know, knowing where the market's going and having the most innovative products is just as much a part of quality as the quality of the construction of the product when you have it.
I've noticed something in my life, which is the people that are really good want to work with the best people they can find. Hopefully people that are even better than them. You know, I mean, that's my view of things, is if you work with people that aren't as good as you, then you become a country of midgets. If you work with people that are better than you, then you really grow.